Where my girl brought me a blueberry donut. It's called a donut, not a donut.
What's the difference?
It's pretty good. I don't know. I guess it's smaller than a donut. It's pretty good though. Scarf it down. My breakfast today: a couple Snickers, a Bang, a blueberry donut, and now a water. So I'm pretty much an Olympian. I'm gonna crash hard.
Oh yeah, like my kids yesterday for like candy, for candy.
Oh yeah.
Pretty happy about my Giants so far, man. Look like they have a top 5 pitching.
I can't hear you over this fire banger intro track that I want to throw 16 bars on. Yeah. What's up, guys? Oh my God, Josh, I gotta fix your camera. Wait, can is your camera okay? That's better. All right. Oh, all right. Yeah, that's fine. I never adjusted before we went live, and I just saw like the side of your face and now your whole torso. So you're good though. It's fine. We can work with this. What's up, chat? Happy Monday, playoff Monday, 3-game basketball. It's not all day staggered, so we actually can kind of do content for it, and you guys might actually watch it because we did like a stream to like 50 people on Saturday, and but then you guys showed up on Eastern and gave us 2K views on a 5-minute video, so I can't call it, man. You guys are weird, but we love you guys. We do. A little Korean heart. You see that? Yeah. Anyway, shout to live chat. You guys are out here. Neville, Parker, Brian Anderson, Jason Robinson, Josh Gilliam, Mock Wall. So many Gundacker Gaming badges in the chat. You love to see that. Cameron Capers in the chat. Josh says, I just grabbed some onion rings from BK. These MFers burnt and old sigh. Yeah. Way back in the day, Josh, I used to be in the they call it for QSR is how you make it sound a little fancier than what it is. Quick service restaurant or whatever. But Sonic, I don't know if they still do it. Sonic used to hand bread their onion rings, and they had this big old machine that I never quite figured out. But if you guys have Sonic, their onion rings are, or at least were, I don't know. What up, Exit Screaming, Chris Smith in the chat, Mia Moore, Brutal at Josh, but for what it worth, that makes me laugh. So I missed it. I was getting music in my headphones, Josh. What were you saying that apparently Chad heard and I didn't?
I was just talking about baseball because you just finished your stream. I was saying I was pretty happy with my Giants so far. Look like they have a top 5 pitching rotation this year so far. It's 9 games for them, but.
Carlos Rodon's a beast. I'll give him that. Logan Webb, really strong. I don't know. We'll see. The Yankees pitching staff is elite. Offense needs some work. Some work.
I don't know if we talked about in the baseball stream, but take the under on first or 1 run in the first inning for that Giants-Mets game. I think I heard a stat today is like combined.
It just got postponed.
Oh man, because combined they have like 45 runs and 19 combined games.
Don't do that, Josh. That's gambler stats.
No,
we don't deal with that bull crap.
They're pitching, man. Both teams.
Oh, they both had bums on the mound today. Stop.
Wait, he's given up 0 runs. Mets pitcher.
Tyler Megill?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that was sustained, but
I know.
I'm gonna have to train you, bro. Yeah, those are some irrelevant stats. Anyway, What up, Nate D? 100 like goal out here. 100 like goal. I'm with that. Maybe 100 likes. We'll drop a prop detector in the free Discord. 100? You think 100's too soft or is that fine?
No, 100's solid.
100. All right, triple digits on the like button, and we'll go free prop detector in the free Discord. Lots of freeness. All we need is you guys to click a button. Mox says, I got some greasy tots the other night, each one like half a pound. God dang, bro. God dang. Great. Got to see my granddaughter. Let's go, Moliker. That's awesome. My daughter's listening too. Say, hey, Maddie. What's up, Maddie? Shout out to you. Hope you're watching some baseball today, Maddie. Listen to your pops. Good dude. Honor your father and your mother. I'm sure your mom's great too. Sonic supervisor here, bro. We still make handmade. That's what's up, Jason. Sonic onion rings and ice cream. Get those. I always did Reese's. Reese's. What do you call it? Blast. Add Snickers and whip. Back in my day, you didn't have to ask for whip. They just gave it to you. Sonic whipped cream is like the best on the planet. So I always make sure they don't get cheap with it. Fuddruckers onion rings are the best. I like Fuddruckers. We have a Fuddruckers here in Waco. It's fun, but I just don't like paying a lot of money to make my own burger. Does that make sense? You ever heard of that place, Josh, Fuddruckers? They have it's like a salad bar, except it's like just for burger toppings, and you just make your own stuff, and it's just like smart business move, I guess. I don't know. Let's go Giants. All right. I think I made a great line. Everyone says that. Yeah. Forgot to hit them like buttons. What up, chat? All right. So we got 3 games on the docket tonight, and we're going to go through some of our favorite props for PrizePicks. Matter of fact, I should open up PrizePicks. My boy Josh threw out a video, first look video yesterday on Easter, so shout out to him for doing that. And then we've had a couple of these slates where we have some of our favorite teams playing. Those have been nice, and then we get some slates where we get some teams that like to suffocate other teams defensively, like the Miami Heat, stuff like that. So what's been your experience so far? Have you learned anything about rotations that maybe surprised us or didn't, or answer some questions? Like, what are some of your takeaways from the first couple of game ones on the weekend?
Well, I think relevant for the games today, I think I broke down some game film for these matchups that we can go over when we go game by game. But yeah, I definitely learned some things. And one thing you got to remember, it's a 5-game series, and the teams that are going to be down 1-0, they're going to be in somewhat of a desperation mode today, because when a team goes down 2-0 in a 5-game series, they win the series 6% of the time. So they have to win this game 2 if they want to keep it close or even have a fighting chance in this series. So things like that you got to really take in consideration in a playoff series, especially this first round.
And then as we deal with injuries, right? We got a couple of spots like the Raptors. Scotty Barnes got beat up, and then when that game goes back to Toronto, will be without Matisse Diable. So a couple of nuances, a couple of wrinkles that we don't usually get. And then for just for the sake of being different, and in terms of game ones, the game twos, the game threes being perhaps not the same. Steph Curry didn't start last game. Probably doesn't start again today, right? And then Luka Doncic has been out. So while it has been playoff basketball, we've also had some of those regular season wrinkles that we don't normally get in these playoff series. So
right.
Something to keep in mind here. Let's open up the book here. Game number 1, Raptors at the Philadelphia 76ers. We got 216 total, a 7.5 point spread in favor of the home team Philadelphia 76ers. We got Gary Trent with a Q tag. We got Thad Young with a Q tag and Scotty Barnes with an O tag. Trent's doubtful and Scotty Barnes is out. So right off the rip, 2 starters missing from Nick Nurse's rotation. And then on the Sixers side, nothing big and notable here. So let's start with the Raptors here. There's got to be an immediate boost that we're going to like. I'm going to go to the Raptors on NBA Wowie via Add More Funds. We're just going to keep the full season in here. And from recollection, I feel like we're going to like the thought of Siakam picking up a lot of responsibility and perhaps starting, as far away from Embiid as the small forward spot, seeing some Kim Birch, some Precious Achua. They could go Omani Brooks or get weird with us, so maybe don't quote me specifically, but I do think without Scotty Barnes and Gary Trent, we're going to be looking elsewhere. And then Anunoby, man, what do you think about looking his way? I was thinking maybe he benefits from a point prop standpoint. Usually 17.5, something that we might usually see. Maybe we can find some wedges to get behind him there. Taking off Gary Trent and Scotty Barnes, putting on Vanvleet and Siakam. On the season, this has netted us a usage rate of about 26% on Vanvleet, 29% on Siakam. Both those guys over a 1.2 fantasy point per minute for PrizePicks. Now let's go pull up the PrizePicks board and let's pull up the Toronto Raptors. And we're going to find VanVleet with a fantasy point prop of 39. Now he opened up on day one at 36. We were all over the over. We barely got the over, but we got it. And then Siakam has a 47 fantasy point prop right now. I'm sitting on almost a 54 fantasy point projection based on PrizePicks scoring. And then we mentioned OG Anunoby, who could pick up some scoring. 16.5, bro. Why does that feel way too low? And what are your thoughts on Anunoby over 16.5 with potentially no Trent and no Scotty Barnes?
Yeah, I mean, that's too low. I mean, so he only played 32 minutes that first game. You got to imagine with those guys out, he's going to push 40, pick up, at least 8 to 10 more minutes in this game. And they're going to need him to be like the Sixers Maxey equivalent, where he's the guy who's going to have more open shot opportunities. Plays are going to be set around him. So I do like that. I assume a lot of his points are going to come from the three ball because, you got Gary Trent out, who accounts for 7 to 10 3-point attempts. I think Trent took 7 in that first game. OG only took 5. He made 2 of them. I assume that's his attempts will go push close to 8 to 10 today. And yeah, he's gonna fill the stat line today. He had 0 stocks in that first game. I could see him picking up more minutes, having more steal block opportunity. So I would say his points or his 30 fantasy points are in play, especially since if he's gonna push close to 38 to 40 minutes in this matchup.
Yeah, so he had about 35% of his shots in this split without Trent and Scotty have been from 3-point land. And I was going to ask you. I mean, you mentioned at the top of the show, even though it's just game two. First of all, do you think this game stays competitive? 7.5 point spread is pretty big for playoffs, and they got smoked in game 1, and then they lose 2 of their staples. But 2, even if it didn't stay competitive, at what point does Nick Nurse say, hey, this is what are we resting for, right? And you mentioned it. If you go down 0-2 in the playoffs, your chances of success are pretty low here. So do you have reservations on a potential blowout, and have you thought about attacking first half props instead on some of these guys that we are going to key on? I do think Anunoby and his point prop is going to be one of my favorite props of the day. But I'm also worried about the fourth quarter because they did lose a couple minutes in the fourth quarter last game. Anunoby probably left 2 or 3 minutes on the table. Gary Trent, he got injured. Scotty Barnes got injured. So there could be a longer run there. Maybe they go to some scorers that we don't really know about, some shooters, Banton, McCallick, guys like that. But I guess, 1, are you worried about a blowout? And 2, are you doing anything to act on that threat, such as looking at first half?
I think you got to take these game ones with a grain of salt. Like the Warriors, Poole's not going to shoot lights out like that again. He's not going to put up 30 points a game in this series. And the same goes for the Sixers. They played probably some of their best basketball they played all year. I mean, they played lights out, man. I mean, they shot 50% from 3. Maxey was not missing. You got Nick Nurse, who's a good coach. He's going to adjust. I don't see the Sixers playing like that again today. This Raptors team is not a team defensively that's going to just lay down and let a team steamroll them again. Variance. I don't think the Sixers can replicate that. I mean, that was they shot ridiculous, especially from 3.
In theory, I agree with the Raptors, being able to adjust. But with that said, losing 2 starters, this wasn't a team that showed that they were very deep throughout the regular season. Nick Nurse was leaning 38, 40 minutes on these starters. And then, yeah, you would see Kem Birch start for 15 minutes, go to the bench, and they rotate Boucher and Achua, guys like that. So I want to say that I believe in the Raptors to adjust, or maybe the Sixers to play down here. But this team is not firing on all cylinders in terms of what they are likely to throw out there as their starters. So I'm kind of on the fence, man. I think you could sway me either which way.
Right.
So, yeah, with that said, going back to the splits here, Vanvleet has a 21% assist rate, Siakam 25.8%. Like, if it does stay close, it's Vanvleet and Siakam making it happen. Do you want to lean on some of their props, and you want to talk about might be your favorite targets for Vanvleet and Siakam?
Yeah, so I went back and looked at all the assists that Siakam and Vanvleet got. Most of them, over half of them, were from the three ball. With Siakam driving to the basket and then kicking it out to the corner three, or whoever's at the top open 3-point shooter. I think if you think they're going to trail the whole game and they're going to be behind, they're definitely going to rely on the three ball. So Siakam's assist is in play, just also due to the amount of minutes he's going to play. And same goes for Vanvleet. I think Vanvleet, he's going to have to really pick up the scoring with Trent out. So his fantasy points did get a boost, but you could always go to that because he is going to be aggressive on defense. Hopefully he can stay out of foul trouble this time and not foul out. But his 20 points is live, and as well as his fantasy. And then I would say third would be his assist potential. Just with Trent being out, it's a shooter, and Trent or Scotty Barnes being out for like a cutter to the basket, it might lower his assist potential. So I would maybe lean his points in his fantasy, and then Siakam, he's going to fill the stat line. He's going to try to do it all again today. He said, in that first game, he wasn't really finding his rhythm early on, and he was kind of struggling. But then he said he started to pick it up in the second half and get his feet under him. So maybe he continues it, comes out strong today. With the amount of minutes he's going to play and be needed, I could still get on his 47 fantasy points or his real point prop. So both of them, I'm leaning points or fantasy to encompass everything they're going to do probably today.
All right, so I'm going to start making the list here. I have Fred VanVleet at 45 fantasy points for PrizePicks scoring. I have Siakam at 54. So I'll probably, like you said, lean on those guys, especially because they are guys that can. I mean, this whole team was averaging 2 steals and 2 stocks per game. So I think if I had to start making the list, I'm going to go fantasy points on VanVleet, Siakam fantasy points, and Anunoby kind of the same thing, but I do think he can pick up some scoring here, and I think he might be underpriced. Anunoby's sitting at 16.5 points versus 30 fantasy points. So I have him for over the 30 fantasy points as well. So I probably just take a sweeping approach here and just grab fantasy points for all of them. But as I isolate and elongate on the different picks here, I think it's very reasonable to suspect Anunoby to pick up a lot of scoring without. At least without Gary Trent, but without Scotty Barnes as well. Not really looking to Kem Birch to be any involvement in that offense. So they could be a 3-headed monster. Looking elsewhere in the bottom half here, nothing there. And then I do want to see, are we getting a first half tax on Siakam or VanVleet for fantasy points? VanVleet at 39, Siakam is at 47. So looking at first half for these two. Raptors, VanVleet's at 20, and then Siakam is at 23.5. So it's pretty well split down without getting taxed here. And then Anunoby's just at 8.5 points in the first half, 12.5 PRA with just a 15 fantasy point projection. And I think
that's in play.
It's definitely in play, especially if you think Anunoby could just play every minute of the first half, and that's very possible. So, yeah, I like all these stuff. I would say if you guys are out there and you're worried about this game blowing out and you're worried about the Raptors throwing in a white flag in the fourth quarter and taking it back to Toronto, yeah, maybe consider some of these first half props. And I definitely think Anunoby is really, really cheap all at every single one of these props. But fantasy score would probably be my favorite to throw.
Yeah, I mean, VanVleet played almost 22 minutes in the first half. last game.
I mean, and if he's going to be a point per minute or better, based on this split that we have, he's at 1.2. Yeah, we could definitely chop this game in half if we wanted to maybe dial back or dilute our concern on this game staying close, because it very, very well might get out of hand for Philly again here, unless they have a little play down to your opponents based on over or underrating them. So I don't mind, and I'd probably just say interested in all these first halves as well to combat to blowout concerns, because we've seen the playoffs are not immune to blowouts. So let's get caught up on chat here before we move on. My boy Dan Anderson, this is great content here. Two of you flow together quite well. I appreciate that, Dan. That's love.
Thank you.
Somebody going to benefit with rebounds with Scotty out. Yeah, they didn't give us nothing on Achua or Birch or even Boucher.
I mean, OG could pick it up. He's only at 5.5. It's pretty low for him.
Okay.
But if they go big, which we both agree on that they could go Birch and Precious starting, then that could take away rebound opportunities.
Josh says Fred fouled out and didn't play the last 8 minutes.
Yep.
So yeah, he probably left that much more time on the table, and that's where the playoff blowouts play a little different than the regular season. Yeah, Vanvleet was on his way to not touching the seat in the rest of the game, and also kudos to Nick Nurse for playing Vanvleet through foul trouble.
Yeah.
He
picked up 2 early fouls very early, so he still played through it.
All right, so then I'll be right there on VanVleet fantasy points as well. So all right, let's flip it over to the 76er side of the basketball. So here's a thought: we were talking about Embiid getting double teamed early, often against the Raptors last game. Well, Scotty Barnes might have been one of those pieces, and then now you have to move around Siakam a little bit. So maybe they can't quite sick the dogs that they expected to sick on Embiid as frequently. They still have bodies to sacrifice: Boucher, Achua, Kim Birch, guys like that. But did you learn anything from game one on Embiid and how they were attacking Embiid and how we should attack or approach Embiid props?
Yeah. So I went back and watched the game again and looked at game film, play by play, and basically what they were doing, the Raptors, is they were basically running a zone, and they were one of the 76ers' bread and butter is the high post with Embiid. And so whenever Embiid, gets the ball at the high post, he'll either look to drive it and score or kick it out to the wing shooter. And so the Raptors were like, all right, we're going to create a wall at the high post, and we're not going to let Embiid drive. So instead of really just forcing a double team, they were basically creating a wall in the paint. And what this did is it allowed backdoor cutters and guys in the corner to be wide open. And so Maxey was just getting easy layups, same with Tobias, cutting to the basket, and which increased Embiid's assist rate. And then, they were making corner threes with Gort when Yang was in. So I think Nurse is going to change it up. I think they obviously can't do that again with that zone and trying to block off the high post. They also did it to Harden. When Harden would have the ball at the top, they would basically have this zone, and he would end up having 2 men on him when he would drive to the basket, and then he would kick it out. And so Harden had 14 assists. And almost half of those assists were 3-point shots made, and that's because he would drive it to that zone and then find the open shooter, which was always in the corner because of that zone defense. So I think that what they're gonna have to do is they're gonna have to rely on ISO defense on Harden and not rely on that zone, and because they cannot give up that back cutter to the basket anymore. So with that said, you might see a reduction in Harden's assists today, but I still like Embiid's assists just because I think they will still focus their defense on him, and if they ISO Harden, that should increase his opportunity to score. And maybe his 3-point shot as well. But I with Harden, I think I'm gonna lean, because I don't know how Nurse is gonna adjust. I think I'm gonna lean fantasy just because how much the ball is gonna be in his hand and how involved and how many minutes he's gonna play today, and he should fill the stat line. So they haven't adjusted his fantasy points; it's still at 45. That's what it opened up at yesterday. So what are you thinking?
Yeah, I've got almost 53 fantasy points on Harden. That's about where he finished in that last game. Yeah, I'm with you. I think the fantasy points is a great way to throw a net over everything that Harden might do today, especially if we're a little bit, because obviously we're interested in Harden assist any day. 12, 13, 14 assists is not outside the realm of possibility. But in this case, as you said, if they're going to free him up, if you're going to dare James Harden to play ISO basketball,
I think that's what they're going to do. Yep.
James Harden will play ISO basketball. So,
and like I said, they shot 50% from the three line, and like I said, over half of his assists were from the three ball. So I just don't see him sustaining that 3-point percentage. So they could reduce his assists. That's kind of what I'm thinking. But I still like Tobias's potential here. Just being, the third man option at 15.5 points. I think you can get on that still. And then Maxey just be one of those X factors in a series where you've seen playoff series where a team doesn't have an answer for another guy. They don't know how to stop him. And Maxey's just too quick on the catch and run. When he catches that ball, the Raptors are very lengthy and athletic, but they're not that quick. So when Maxey gets it and he makes that first cut, they can't keep up with him. So I think his points are still in play.
So I was 18.5, or what do you think about 2.5 threes? Or do you just want to take the points? We could just take the points.
I would say I would take the points just because of that weakness and hole they found with his cutting ability. They could not keep up with him. He was too quick, way too quick. Off the ball. When he would get the ball, I mean, they couldn't catch him. He was just driving, getting easy layups.
All right, I'm with that.
So if he goes cold from three, you could still have the opportunity to hit that point mark with his driving ability.
Okay, so I'll put his points down. I got Harden fantasy points. Do we want any? Embiid assists, is that our favorite line here if we want to get there? Or do you want to take a shot at 56 fantasy points? I have Embiid about 62. There's a 6-point difference, but once we start getting the 50s and 60s, gets to be a late inning sweat. But I don't know. Is there anything specifically you want to add to like a core, or is Embiid props going to be more fringy because of how expensive they are?
Yeah, they are juiced, man. I mean, I guess you could go with rebound because the Raptors are not a good offensive rebounding team, so he should rack up defensive rebounds. But that's risky at that high of a price tag because it can be some variance mixed in there with rebounding, how the ball hits, if it's long rebounds or not from three ball.
Okay.
I would just say that low assist number not being juiced and still at 3.5. Probably feel most comfortable with, just due to the scheme and what's going to happen probably in this matchup.
All right, other tertiary supplementary guys that are listed on PrizePicks, they put a Danny Green 1.5 blocks and steals prop with a 15 fantasy point projection to beat. I have him right about 16. That's too close for me to want to sweat. You mentioned Tobias Harris. Do you want Tobias Harris real points as something we're adding to the list? All right, Tobias Harris.
I would say real points are fantasy. He fills the stat line.
Yes.
He's involved with the passing, and he will get bored. So,
okay.
But I mean, the point prop's so low at 15.5.
All right, so I'm working on my list here, and then we've got Gorgeous Niang at 5.5 points or 1.5 threes. That's basically the same prop. Does he hit 2 threes?
It is.
And then Matisse Diable at 13 fantasy points. So he's the one that's unique because the next game goes to Toronto and he can't play, right? You wonder if they try to get the most out of him, but like we're probably stretching more than we have to because we got plenty of props from this game that we jotted down, and this hasn't always been the case for us. We've had some games in this playoff series or in this playoff. So far, where we only get like 2 props that we really like out of it. So I don't feel like we need to stretch too thin to these secondary players. But is there anything else in this game that you wanted to spotlight?
Yeah. Is there any way? Can you check like fouls per 36 for Birch and for Precious?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Just if they're getting more minutes with Scotty being out and Trent being gone, because we know Harden and Embiid will rack them up.
All right, Chua has 4.19 fouls per 36, so that's not too bad. And then Kim Birch, fouls per 36, is at 2.89. So neither one of them are bad. It is Joel Embiid, so it almost doesn't matter. But Birch is not somebody I'm expecting to play deep minutes anyway. We know Chris Boucher has a knack for getting in foul trouble.
He'll have to play more minutes today, that's for sure, especially if Dad's out. Although they said that was trying his best to play, which is pretty crazy because he just hurt that finger.
That was one of the curveballs that got me. I forgot that they even got him. So when he was like, he only came in for 5 minutes, but when he came in, I was like, now wait a minute. No, wait a minute. But yeah, I don't know if he does try to play that. Normally, I would kind of scoff at that, but considering that they're missing 2 starters and Nick Nurse is probably just trying to play chess, not checkers here, it wouldn't stun me if he became a piece. But I guess we'll have to keep an eye on that and see what they end up doing here. But Achua, I think, throughout the season and from the first game, is the guy we expect to really benefit in minutes. 28 minutes logged in that first game before they went to the cleanup crew. So could be in line for 30 minutes today. Could be in line for the start. There's a couple different rotations, a couple different lineups that Nurse could throw out here to start things off. We've even seen him do things like start Armani Brooks and stuff like that. So we'll see what they end up throwing out here. But all right, let's matriculate on to the next one. Let me double check chat before we do that. Josh says, I think they play Embiid straight up today and not double to keep Maxey and Harden from going off. I mean, it's possible Nick Nurse tries to adjust, what wasn't working, what can we make to work, and losing 2 pieces, 2 35 to 40-minute pieces in a great scenario. So it is definitely possible. However, with those pieces out, Scotty Barnes and Gary Trent, we've seen them more likely to lean on your size guys, putting like Precious Achua into more of a forward spot and then throwing bodies in that front court. So it seems like they could just sacrifice bodies on Embiid and not even care about foul trouble when it comes to those guys. So something to keep an eye on. Paul Whitlock says, what about free throws in this game? So Embiid and Harden being the guys that you are interested with. I think those are it's not a crazy question, but I think Harden's fantasy prop is low enough that I don't need to sweat his free throws. 7 is still beatable for him, and then Embiid being Embiid, 10 free throws is almost crazy, but that's right around the neighborhood. But both those lines are kind of juiced to. I just don't find myself needing to sweat it because it's so high. But that's me. Josh, you kind of in agreement with that? It's just throw a blanket over him if you at least Harden 45 fantasy points is probably a core play for me. So I don't need to get to too many tertiary stuff. But Embiid, wanting to come off of Embiid's big fantasy point line with something a little bit easier to sweat, I understand that. Man, double-digit free throws. Whew. But if there's anybody to do it, it is Joel Embiid. Yeah, okay. Or nothing? All right, okay, cool. Natural pause. I thought that. Okay, we were fine.
Oh, you were asking. I'm reading something.
It wasn't really. Okay, I don't know. You keep reading. Anyway, chat. Where we at? 63 likes. Get to 100 likes. We'll drop a prop detector in the free Discord. Link to the free Discord in the description below. And yeah, what's up?
I just want to say, based on the defensive schemes, it was not as much as them doubling Embiid as much as like the zone favoring the high post. So yeah, I don't think it's like it was like they were focusing everything on doubling Embiid. Just wanted to clear that up.
Okay, cool. All right, matriculating on to the next one. What up, Lister? What up, anybody missing? Michael Tyler in the chat here. Mavericks is in a must-win. They props kind of low. Man, every team's kind of in a must-win, especially every team down 0-1. But let's talk about that game. Utah Jazz at the Dallas Mavericks, a 205 and a half total. What is this, 1998? Mavericks are gonna. Is Doncic doubtful still? This is just straight up. All right, so Luka Doncic officially doubtful with a calf injury. So we're gonna get more of what we saw in Game 1. If the Dallas can't steal this one, this is gonna be tough to take that series to Utah and do anything with it. Dallas in that first game scored 93 points. The Jazz scored 99. So this is probably going to be a game where we don't run too much of high aspirations. But they did hang within 2-3 balls of in this game. And we saw big minutes out of Dallas. Jalen Brunson, Dorian Finney-Smith played 44 minutes. Brunson played 40 minutes. Reggie Bullock played 44 minutes. Spencer Dinwiddie played 36 minutes. So big minutes to be had here for Jason Kidd's team. And, they were like within 6 within 6. They were close enough to keep that thing competitive down the stretch. So if they're going to come out fighting for their lives, maybe the props are too low. But remember, Utah and Dallas, we're getting slow-paced basketball, and then Utah is, of course, going to give us a pretty solid defense. So we look at the pace rating. Dallas ran the slowest pace all year, and Utah bottom 10 in pace, and then defensive ratings, Utah up there. We know when Rudy Gobert is in the mix, that team's going to be hard to score on. So we're not expecting we're not expecting much scoring here. They may not break 200 points again. So, yeah, the props might seem low, but at the same time, it's based on, on the amount of points that you're going to score. So let's go pull up the Dallas Mavericks here. Without Luka Doncic, Spencer Dinwiddie, Jalen Brunson, probably two guys we want to think about first. With Brunson showing an ability to play 40-plus minutes. This is the other night we were on Vanvleet, and one of the strongest selling points for Vanvleet was he's projected for less fantasy points than minutes played, right? Mm-hmm. And he fouled out in 36 minutes, but guess what? He was a point per minute. Do you think Jalen Brunson, if we project him for 42 minutes, do you think he can be a point per minute? If so, 36 fantasy points might be a little low. I've got him for 45 fantasy points. Do we add that one to the list? Because I'm just willing to chip in a chair high usage guys who have a lower fantasy point line than minutes played. What are you thinking there?
Yeah, I mean, well, with this season with Luka off the court, he is at 1.08 fantasy points per minute. So it makes sense. And I was going to say the same goes for Reggie Bullock and Finney Smith. If they're going to play 44-minute plus again, this matchup, their fantasy point prop, I think you can definitely consider. Bullock's at 22. That's basically half his minutes. His fantasy points is half of his total minutes played. He's at about, which is right in line. He's about 0.62 fantasy point per minute guy, and with Luka out. And then Finney Smith is about 0.8 per minute, and he's at 25. So I think all three of those guys, their fantasy points, just due to the amount of minutes they're gonna play, could definitely be considered. And I think, as things are tightening up with the playoffs and prop projections and lines, I think fantasy points probably one of the few lines that you can get an edge on, just based on our projections too. What do you have them projected for, all three of those guys?
So I have Brunson sitting at a 45 fantasy point projection. I have Spencer Dinwiddie at a 43 fantasy point projection, and I've got Reggie Bullock at 28. I did do a quick NBA Wowie query, and I put Brunson, Dinwiddie, Bullock on the court, took off Luka. It's only 133 minutes of sample size, so we got to be really, really careful with that. And, Mike Conley might slow one of those guys down. But Dinwiddie led the trio in fantasy points per minute, and Brunson dropped down to 0.85. But 0.85 is still alive if we're going to get 42, 44 minutes. Same with Reggie Bullock. So, I think the minute projections are where it's going to make me take some chances here that I wouldn't normally get to without Luka.
You have those guys projected less than 40 minutes too, and you're still getting like a pretty favorable projection relative to their actual lines. So I bet if you bump those up to 42, we're going to get even probably a 10 plus differential for all three.
Yeah, and I'm clearing it so for Jalen Brunson, he's got a 36 fantasy point projection. I'm clearing that almost confidently right now, almost a 10. So yeah, if I put 39 to 42, we're gonna get another implied fantasy point out of that. So I'd probably add it to the list. I'd sweat it. I just think anytime, and I'd be really tempted to do that with just about anybody, right? If you're gonna have a 26% usage rate and have a fantasy line to be significantly less than your probable minutes played, that's just too good to pass up. So him and Dinwiddie, but do you have a lean here? Dinwiddie was a little less, I guess, impactful, but I think it's because of the lack of minutes played. Expect him to kind of step up. 6 for 15, 10 for 16 from the free throw line. Do you think he draws 16 free throws again? Probably not. But hey, that's at least a good sign for him, and that did help him clear his real point prop, which was like 20.5 or something that day. Today, his point prop comes to us at what are we thinking? Dinwiddie, at 21.5. So, oof, that is right there on the button, and he had help with free throws. So, I think I'm just gonna throw fantasy point blankets over most of these guys. What do you?
Yeah, I think that's the smart thing to do. Just because Dinwiddie and Brunson switch off on like ball handling and playmaking, so it's gonna be you're basically throwing a dart saying who's gonna be the playmaker and set up the offense with their assist, and who's gonna be the scorer. I mean, they're both gonna put up points obviously with Luke out, but to pick on which one, isolate a prop for each one, and which one favors each player is going to be difficult. So probably just throwing a blanket, like you said, on the fantasy is going to be the way to go.
Yeah, so I'll jot them all down.
What do we do with Maxey? So he's going to play 24 minutes. Maybe he gets a little more run. I mean, they got him at 17 fantasy points. He cleared that last game, and he didn't even get a stock, which is unlike him because he's known for his blocks. So.
Yeah, I mean the defensive bing bong.
Or he almost cleared it. Sorry, he just fell 3 points short, which he would have got if he got a stop.
Poole or Thompson FanDuel for my last spot. I guess if we're just straight up looking for points, probably Jordan Poole, but I'll let the resident Warriors expert. First of all, appreciate that $2 dono, Ray 205. Josh, if you got pinched into a corner and you had to choose between Jordan Poole and Klay Thompson, better fantasy game, who do you go with?
I mean, Poole, he played lights out, man. Everyone's really excited about him here, but like I said, you just can't sustain that. But he is going to be the primary ball handler when Steph's out, so it makes sense to go with the playmaker who's going to hold the ball the most. But Klay, I think, has more upside if he gets hot from three.
There you have it. So we're talking about Maxi Kleber. I think I'm going to stay away from front court guys with volatility against this front court. And Kleber is not really an offensive juggernaut for me anyway. If he has those big games for fantasy, he either got really hot from three or he had like 5 blocks. I don't know that either one of those is an outcome I'm willing to bank on here today. So I probably stay away from him.
Yeah, I mean the Mavs, they had a chance to pull that upset off if they shot better from three. They shot 9 of 32, 28%. So if they shoot a little bit better from three today, I mean, I think this game could stay close again.
Yeah, and just because of how slow paced it can be, it's hard to grab a giant lead anyway. So I'm in agreement with that, but I also just want to key in on the high usage guys for a team that's implied to score like 98 points, 5-point spread here in favor of the Utah Jazz. So any other Jazz or any other Mavericks notes, or do you want to start talking about some Jazz players?
No, that was it. Just the fantasy for those high minute guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right. On the Utah side of things, Donovan Mitchell has a 27.5 real point prop. He was a slow burn. Remember, Bojan Bogdanovic was going off in the first half, and then the second half, Donovan took off. So we'll see if that sustains here. Every now and then, Bojan will catch fire. He has a 3-point prop, does Donovan Mitchell, and then Bojan Bogdanovic, half a block and steal, 18.5 points, 2.5 threes. Rudy Gobert, 13.5 points. I mean, he was just not being acknowledged as a human being in the paint in that last game, man.
Yeah, I posted a video clip. I don't know if you caught it in time. I posted it in Discord. It's hilarious from that game.
Bro, there's like multiple clips this season of Rudy Gobert stomping like a temper tantrum stomp. Remember that time Steph Curry like made fun of him behind?
Yeah.
If the Jazz, I mean, if the Jazz don't make it, Rudy's got to go.
It was the play that so Donovan was dribbling it up, and Gobert came and did his usual pick and roll at the top of the key, and then Gobert is wide open, waving his hands in the air. Mitchell looks at him and then looks over to the corner and passes it to Royce O'Neal instead.
Yeah,
he was wide open in the paint, wide open, and Gobert had 1 field goal attempt in that last game, and most of his points came from free throws. It
is actually insane. Of course, Utah, it's their philosophy to chuck threes. They're second in the league in 3 points per game, or points via the 3 ball per game. But man, sometimes free points are free points, and yeah, it's getting a little hard and a little cringe at times. And then obviously when it's Donovan Mitchell with the ball in his hand, what was the stat? He's averaging like 2.5 passes to Gobert per game. Passes, like that's insane. So yeah, they might be some bad blood.
Don't you think that was an anomaly though? Like I think Gobert, he would have easily crushed his fantasy point prop that game if he got more shot opportunities. I just don't see that sustaining the series having one field goal attempt.
Right. One.
The offense.
Right. I mean, he's not that big part of the offense.
But
So,
I'm saying when they're trailing and like losing in the fourth quarter, he turns it on and he's the one who gets them back in games. He's important for them.
yeah, but are they going to trail against the Dallas Mavericks? Probably not.
No, not
He,
trailing.
in 4 games against the Mavs this season, he's taken 18 total shots, Josh. That's like 5 a game.
They only took 22 threes that game as a team.
I mean, they scored 96 points or whatever, right? Like it's not 99 points. So
yeah, but I'm saying it's not like they favored the 3-ball that game. I mean, for them that's the low amount, 22 total.
yeah. So check this out. He's averaging 10 real points per game against the Mavs, and 15 points of those have been free throws. He's 15 or 19 from the free throw.
It's such a good matchup for him, man, against Powell. And if they check in, like, I don't know. I mean, Maxey can't stop him.
Their philosophy is to shoot threes, man. Shoot threes.
I guess that's why Quinn Snyder is gone after this year.
I think Rudy Gobert's gone after this year. I don't know that it's necessarily.
You gotta retool, man. Retool the.
But with that said, so yeah, he'll probably get more than one field goal attempt. But if you just look on the season though, like he's rarely getting you double digits, like rarely. So if he gets more than one, sure, maybe 5 or 6. But I still, I don't want to sweat. I don't want to sweat that. And I'm probably staying away from all things Rudy Gobert. You'd almost like flirt with the under on real points there, but I don't want to do that.
Because if he's in at the end of the game and they start hacking him, like he could get all his points at the end through free throws, which we've seen in games.
15 rebounds is his prop.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just incredible. And the thing is, like, I don't want to sweat the under, man. I just don't. So I probably favor to go Gobert on both sides. If you want to just
real points.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it is. If you just want to sweat, I mean, if you really wanted to believe in Rudy, I will say my fantasy projection is higher than theirs on him. So there's that. But I think Rudy, I'm staying away from Rudy today from the sweat list. Sure. Where do we get behind? Do you want to grab any Bojan, any Donovan Mitchell, any Conley? I feel like I'm less enthralled with the Utah Jazz as a prop attack team. Did you have anything that was standing out to you as something that you might be getting to at a above average clip?
I mean, so I noticed in this game that the Mavs were basically having Finney Smith shadow Mitchell, and then they were also sending double teams at the very top at him early on as he brought the ball up, and which forced him to pass it to Bojan, who was scoring a lot of his balls through Donovan Mitchell's passes. They were kind of working together. So yeah, Mitchell was being a playmaker early on in the game, and which got Bojan hot. So I mean, if they do the same thing, Bojan could rack up some points, but his point prop's pretty high today. But I was thinking for Mitchell, I was thinking fantasy just because of the amount of minutes he's going to play, and if he's going to be the playmaker and fill the stat line with his assists, rebounds, and points, I mean, it makes sense. He played, what did he play? 41 minutes, almost 42 minutes. That's probably the one I would lean on the most because it's so hard to call when he's going to be a playmaker versus a attack mode scorer, which we talked about all season long because he'll either flip the switch for one or the other. So that also makes me. I mean, I want to click on Mike Conley's assists because we've seen those spike games when he does get Gobert and others involved in the paint, but we can't trust it when Donovan Mitchell's like dominating ball handling.
Yeah, I'm in agreement here. If I ended up with no Utah Jazz props today, I'm being real. I don't think I would. I don't care. This team seems like it's gonna be hard to predict. So I didn't jot anything down in my notes because I don't want to feel like I'm forcing anything. Yeah. All right, let's get caught up in chat. Then we'll move on. Paul Whitlock, shout out to Paul, says, so many fouls in this game. Does Dallas normally give up a lot of fouls too? Because Mitchell had 10 free throws last game. Think that happens again. It might have been one of those fourth quarter things. I'll double check. Mitchell. At the stretch there, yeah. He had
it was. They were fouling him at the end.
Yeah.
A lot.
So.
The free throws, yep.
All right. So and that's something too. If we project the Jazz to play with a slight lead towards the end of the game, maybe those free throws come live again. We don't have a free throw prop on Mitchell right now. Yeah, we do. 4.5. He would probably be the guy you inbound the ball to all throughout the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter if they're playing with the 5 to 8 point lead. Maybe that's something, but you're not sweating that until the end of the game, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not going to add it. Put something to think about.
I mean, but on the season, the answer to this question, the Mavs were top 10 in least amount of free throws allowed.
Yeah, a little different. With the game on the line and no Luka.
Yep.
It's crazy how they're just such a way different team. Yeah, what up, Steve? Cameron says, can you guys make me feel better for taking Rudy under rebounds? Rudy rebounds could be at like 17, and I wouldn't feel that great about taking the under. Like, he's such a dominant rebounder, man. What up, Namron? How many minutes for Curry? Right now I have 27 on him, but obviously that could go up. Conley over rebounds? I don't want to sweat guard rebounds in a slow-paced game. Harden and Tobias 3-point made. I have Harden fantasy points as one of my favorite props, and then Tobias, I have points and fantasy points right now. Mm-hmm. Mitchell got some of those at the end of the fourth, when they were fouling it. Conley 2 threes. I don't think that's insane. When you have a team that's philosophy is to chuck threes, makes sense to grab some guys that might be at 1.5, even 2. You want to move on to the main event?
I wouldn't call it main event, but yeah.
Self-deprecating Warriors fan doesn't want to. No, anyway. Hey, we're at 80 likes. 20 more, and we'll drop the prop detector for free in the free Discord. If you guys not sure what the F that is, well, in the link in the description below, there's a link to this Discord, and then right here it says PrizePicks and props. We'll put it in here. Josh will put it in here, and you can guys see what makes the list when we start ranking out the list. Obviously, we're kind of scatterbraiding and group thinking here. But yeah, jump in that. It's completely free. Shout out to Jalen, Booby J, Suave Loose, Noonan, Fundamentals. Click that link below. Jump in there. And then, of course, if you are a YouTube channel member, we have members-only chats here. And on days where we don't hit the like goal, like if we didn't get to 100 likes today, we'd put it in there. You know what I mean? So look out for that. And then if you guys want to get in the premium Discord, I do serve a lot of premium content, spreadsheets, analytics for not just NBA, but for baseball as well. You got to rundfs.com. Click VIP memberships. Find a pass that's right for you. Right now, just a week, 2-week pass, month pass. English, working on the next bulk pass to put available, but this is all stuff that'll get you in there. And then if you want to learn baseball, I do baseball content as well. I did a baseball stream right before this one, so if you want to play some DFS, the baseball slate, now that we have the first couple games postponed, it doesn't lock until like 7:40, so you get a little extra time to crunch some numbers and feel better about it, you know. Probably around 22, 25. They were playing. Okay. All right. Nuggets at the Warriors. Got 2-2-2. Another one, 2 is our total. A 7-point spread in favor of the Golden State Warriors. In game 1, the Warriors were able to defeat the Nuggets pretty handily. Couple of things that may have surprised us. Jokic, we loved Jokic 60 fantasy points, Josh. We did. But Draymond Green, yep. So they reduced his fantasy point prop by 1 to 59. And basketball, baseball, they're all there's a game of adjustments, right? Mm-hmm. Could Mike Malone have an adjustment to find us those extra 4.5 fantasy points for Nikola Jokic? Maybe it is a higher sense of urgency to win this game. You don't want to go down 0-2, and then you like to take one on the road, go back to Denver, and feel like you are still in it. So
Yeah.
where do we start? Let's start on the Nuggets side here. And usually with the Nuggets, I'm only ever really interested in Jokic. But if Draymond Green is going to be a speed bump for Jokic, someone else has to step up. And looking back at minutes report from that first game, we lost a big chunk of minutes there in the fourth quarter. Only Bryn Forbes and Austin Rivers, who were part of the active rotation throughout the game, closed out. There was no Morris, there was no Jokic, there was no Will Barton. Boogie got ejected, and Aaron Gordon didn't touch the court in the fourth quarter. So, I guess first of all, does this game stay a little bit closer? And the final score doesn't tell the story here, right? For this game to be within 15 points here, for the last couple of minutes to be off the board instead of them just trying to chuck threes, that's kind of funny. But does this game stay closer? Does Jokic and Mike Malone have adjustments to maybe come back? Were the Warriors running a little too pure in some spots? What's your takeaway from game one, and what are you looking for game two overall? And then start me with some Nuggets props.
Yeah, so I think the Nuggets are going to be in desperation mode because I think, if they lose this one, that's pretty much a wrap. So I think they are going to come out, firing, trying their best, way more aggressive. And I think they're going to have to try to stop, definitely try to stop Clay. And you don't want, if Wiggins is scoring 16 points and Dre scoring 12 points like that, that's going to be a tall task to overcome. So I think, focusing on those secondary guys and stopping them, I think will be key for them. And, Poole's not going to shoot 71% from the three ball again. He just shot lights out. There's nothing you can do about that. But I think for stopping those secondary guys is going to be key for the Nuggets. So look for them probably to focus a lot of their defense attention on those guys and stopping Wiggins and Clay and forcing just Poole and then, a hobbled Steph to beat them. But yeah, with the Nuggets, it's Jokic. Everything stops at Jokic. Starts and stops with him. And yeah, Dre gave him a hard time, and we saw Boogie get ejected again by Scott Foster, the ongoing meme or joke. The guy just does not like him. But Boogie did walk off the court and say some explicatives to him, so I guess he deserved it. And with Boogie being out, we still saw Jokic not clear his prop with probably more opportunity and more rotation minutes in the rotation. But I think we can still get on his fantasy just because he's going to try to do it all today. Like he's done all season. He's carried the squad all season long. Because you see when he's off the court how bad this Nuggets team actually is. So if they are going to keep it close, it's going to be because of him. I think you can go with his fantasy just to get it all. And then Will Barton, he got the most run next to Jokic, so I think his fantasy score is probably live because he does fill the stat line, and he will be active on the boards, on the glass, and with his assists. So I'm not gonna. I don't like calling the assists between all these guys. It's just like another thing, like the Hawks, like the hot potato, who's gonna have the ball last and then pass it to the shooter. So between his assists and Monte Morris, I think that's too risky to call. I would probably just go with the fantasy score for Will Barton. And, Aaron Gordon lost minutes because Uncle Jeff back in rotation fully now, and they're leaning on his vet experience. So it makes me a little hesitant on Aaron Gordon. I assume they're going to try to get him more involved, though, today because they need his offense. Although, it's risky now with Jeff Green kind of, being fully in the mix. They do have a 0.5 3-point made for Jeff Green. He does sit in the corner for those corner threes. If you want to sweat a low number, that could be in play. You just got to make one. And then Aaron Gordon, I think his fantasy score is, like I said, risky because of his minutes. But if he can push close to 34 minutes, then I would feel more comfortable about that.
So I would say it looks like in the fourth quarter, wasn't that Gordon lost minutes because of Jeff Green? It looks like they tried to put nothing but shooters on the court, being down by double because they had Monte Morris, Jokic, Will Barton, Austin Rivers, and Bryn Forbes.
He was playing 36 minutes the last 10 games of the season, Aaron Gordon.
Yeah,
a lot of those was with Jeff Green not playing.
Yeah, but had a baby. Almost all of Jeff Green's minutes were with Aaron Gordon in that first game. So I don't think it was...
that's right. So, no, I forgot about this. Sorry. The Nuggets they people think Austin Rivers is like the Steph stopper. So I think he got a lot of run, and then they started putting Austin Rivers on Jordan Poole. I think he probably lost minutes to him too.
Yeah, because Jeff Green wasn't on the court in the fourth quarter either.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I said, they went to.
But even if he got this fourth quarter run, Gordon, he wouldn't have gotten his normal minutes.
Yeah. He's never a safe play, no matter what, Aaron Gordon at this stage. But I just want to, it looked like they were going for a little bit more guards out there, and then they were answering what the Warriors had on the court. They had Draymond at times, but they were really scattered in that fourth quarter. They were able to lean on their bench a lot more than maybe we thought they would. Heck, we saw Bielisa get 15 minutes in around one game. Don't know that I had that locked in. Otto Porter, we thought Otto Porter could be a factor. He got 25 minutes. Gary Payton was in the mix, and then their cleanup crew was Damian Lee, JTA, Kuminga, and Moses Moody. So I mean, like if I had to guess Moody versus Bielisa, we've seen Moody start this season, so I don't know that I had Bielisa as right up there, but I guess he worked well enough with Steph that that's the rotation they wanted. So it was a really, really unique game in terms of minute rotations.
Yeah, I forgot. Like Austin Rivers is probably going to get more run again today because of his perimeter defense on
and Campazzo just being out. So.
Yeah. So I think I forgot to mention that. I think that's gonna hurt the minutes and potential for some of these other Nuggets guys.
Which, past Jokic, I don't have a high thirst to play any of these guys anyway.
Yeah. I mean, what about Will Barton's fantasy? Could you get on it?
He would be the first guy. The first guy we look at. 35 minutes is encouraging. What's even more encouraging is the fact that maybe that 35 turns into 40 minutes if they don't lose, the final couple of minutes of that game. Maybe 38 minutes, something like that. And Will Barton during the season could be a 28-minute guy. So we might be implying him for more minutes than usual. He has a 29 fantasy point projection. I'm at 32, so I'm not like a massive swing here. Again, Jokic is mainly the guy for me. And we did that query on the stream last show. You get Jokic for 35 minutes. The median is far above 60, but Draymond being Draymond, I mean, this is what he lives for, is to find tough assignments and go out there and stop it. So I would be interested in some Jokic here. If I had to go to number 2, I'd be looking at Barton. Neither one of those are going to be comfortable clicks. Maybe I want to isolate Jokic into like assist or something, having to pass the ball a little bit more. But yeah, no warmer fuzzies there. And then the Warriors, they're kind of hard to call here too as well, because Steph Curry coming off the bench to save his minutes for.
He just wasn't the same. You could see it, man. Every shot he was taking was short, and I assume that's because of his leg injury and not being able to get enough power under it. So. Yeah.
So I guess let's transition into the board that PrizePicks has for the Warriors here, and I would probably say we start with Draymond Green. Like I think Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, Steph Curry, all those guys are fun, but they're scoring dependent. Draymond Green is going to do enough of everything that I at least want to see what the prices are on him to get some action on him. He's at 34 fantasy points.
It went down. It was at 35 last game.
I'm at 41 fantasy points, and I think it comes down to your game script here. But 41 is what he finished with, and he's another guy. If you're going to get him into deep enough minutes, he does a little bit of everything, and this is what he gets paid to do. He only played 28 minutes in that game, but again, he probably could have got to 32, 33. So I was responsible with the projection. I gave him 33. If we can keep this game competitive, 33 is giving me 41. So the fantasy point over would be an early lean for me. You said that's what you would kind of rank first on really this game. Draymond Green over FPS.
Because he's a guy, like, he's not like a Klay or a Poole that rely on getting hot with their shooting. Like, he's going to be a pretty constant, like, disruptive on defense, being the playmaker on offense, setting up the offense. So.
Okay, I'm in full agreement. I think for me, I just prefer targeting guys that stuff the stat sheet, and there's very few players that do it like Draymond Green does. Jokic obviously as well, but Draymond is not at 60 fantasy points. So I like that call quite a bit. Let's go fantasy points on Draymond, and now let's try to find something. I mean, there's no soft landing spots here. Klay Thompson 4 threes. I mean, maybe Andrew Wiggins is at 28 fantasy points, 1.5 threes. Jordan Poole opened up at 32 fantasy points, 21.5 points. I have Poole, for what it's worth, at, let's see, let me put him in the starting lineup first of all. Jordan Poole. I have Jordan Poole at 33. So, like, I do think that they are juicing all these scoring-dependent guys a little too uncomfortably to where I'm going to be a little bit responsible and not bet against them or bet over or under. But I'm a little bit more conservative with these because we're already taking a little bit of a risk in a parlay-style approach anyway. I could do without any of these guards. What do you have? Maybe you're thinking Curry unders if he's not 100% and the Warriors protect the lead, or
I could never do Curry or Steph under.
Okay, I mean that's fair.
Because I mean, all right, like his shot, I mean, is definitely off because of his leg injury. He's not getting enough extension from underneath. But still, it's Steph. He can just go nuclear in one quarter. Yeah, I mean, but it's such a good match. I mean, they just showed how bad the Nuggets defense has been, even all season long. It's just the Nuggets, yeah, on the perimeter, they're so bad. And that's why Poole thrived. And I just don't see Poole shooting again like he did last night. There's due for some regression here. And he's a guy we've seen. He can get real cold at any time, but then he can shoot himself out of it. Yeah, I think with that said, I think it's just too volatile. It's too risky with all these other props that we talked about in the other games. The only one I would consider that's a low prop and has potential of clearing at a high rate is probably Andrew Wiggins' 1.5 block steal. He only got one last game, but he's been averaging 2 to 3 against the Nuggets this season, and he's always active on defense. Maybe he would have cleared it if the game would have stayed a little closer to the end too. Didn't lose out on minutes, so that's one I could probably consider outside of like a Draymond fantasy point for the Warriors.
All right, so yeah, we like the early games more than the later games. It just kind of slowly declines. So
wow, they have Clay at 4 threes.
That's what I'm saying. They had him at 4 threes.
You're gonna take 10 plus 3, so
right. And they had Jordan Poole at 3 threes, and he's also gonna chalk, right?
Man,
so
yeah, so I mean, you're with that 4-3 made, you're betting that Clay shoots over 50% from 3 tonight.
Hey, he can catch fire. But yeah, I'm gonna be a little bit more. I'm just conservative when it comes to parlay. I'll take my risk in DFS and go from there. It's easier to correlate. So just Draymond. Draymond's the only thing I'm typing down. And even on the Nuggets side, like I said, we can definitely get behind some Jokic and some Barton, but core probably not. So that's it. That's our breakdown. Let's get caught up on chat. We'll recap the list that I've typed up after our conversation here. I do appreciate everyone that is out there lurking. If you haven't hit that sub button, hit that sub button, man. I'm trying to get the channel to, what's the next goal? 8K subs. We're at 7,309. So we need a little under 700 to reach the next milestone. Then I expect the channel to be kind of stagnant as it's just me talking baseball for a little bit. But when NFL comes back and when basketball comes back, we'll try and become a 10K channel. Yeah, we'll have some fun with it. But we're also at 98 likes, so I'm pretty confident that we're going to have 100.
We're over now, right?
Yeah, sure. So we're going to post the prop detector, which is a premium perk at rundfs.com pretty much every day. So we'll post it for free in the free Discord as well. So if you guys aren't in that free Discord, you just kind of see where we end up after talking a little bit more and start ranking these out. Join that free Discord. Links in the description below. And then if you guys want the premium stuff, go to rundfs.com. All right, let's recap what we talked about, and then we'll get out of here because we gotta get in the pre-log voice chat too at rundfs.com. So after breaking down these games in my list, Josh, I have Fred VanVleet fantasy points, Pascal Siakam fantasy points, OG Anunoby fantasy points. I wrote I'm interested in all these first halves as well to combat blowout concerns, and we weren't really taxed on their first half props like some players tend to get. And then I got James Harden over 45 fantasy points. I think that's going to be one of my favorite clicks on the day. We agreed upon Tyrese Maxey real points, Tobias Harris points or fantasy points, Joel Embiid rebounds, assists, question mark, meaning that he's pretty expensive and all those props. But if you wanted to get there, get there. Then going into the Dallas game, Jalen Brunson over fantasy points, Dinwiddie over fantasy points, Bullock over fantasy points, especially Brunson and Dinwiddie. Their fantasy point projection on PrizePicks is lower than their minute projection, and these are guys with 25+% usage rate. So that's just something I'd probably take a stab at, no matter who it is or who it's against. And then lastly, I got Draymond Green over fantasy points. I didn't add Jokic and guys like that. I'll let you add those tertiary supplementary plays to the prop detector and rank them. But did you feel great about anything that I didn't mention just now that we should add?
No, I guess it would just be like more secondary, like Andrew Wiggins steal block,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, and you said the Mavs like secondary guys fantasy, right? Like Bullock and
Yeah.
and
So I didn't get the DFS, but like I wouldn't talk you off of it. But he's just one of those not active guys. But if you're gonna play 44 minutes, you just might accidentally drop 20
yeah, right.
fantasy points, not real points.
25 fantasy points, 44 minutes.
Yeah. All right. That's what we got on that. All right, chat. So here's the plan. Right after this, I'm going to jump in the RunDFS.com VIP Discord voice chat. You guys can jump in there. I'm actually going to make a DFS player pool, get that out. We got baseball tonight as well. Josh is going to work on the player prop detector. And then, of course, we'll post that in the free Discord as well. But if you guys do want to hang out with us in the voice chat, go to RunDFS.com. Click VIP memberships. Get signed up. Hey, I'm on Twitter. Twitter.com/Gundacker. Josh, are you active on? Are you Twitchly active yet?
I'm on Twitter. Yeah.
All right. What's the Twitter? We can start plugging your Twitter.
Josh Jennings 0.
There you go. And then Josh is always in both Discords. So that's that, man. Vincent Jefferson's. They have Chris Paul at 10.5 assists tomorrow. Ooh. Are you doing a video in the morning or not?
Yeah, I'll try to.
Okay. No matter what, we will have another live stream tomorrow afternoon, same time. As long as these slates are after 6, I'll probably stick with the what did we do? 3 p.m. Eastern or the 4 p.m. Eastern start time.
Is that what you're gonna do for the rest of the week?
Yeah, I think that's what I have in my schedule. And baseball is gonna get a little wonky. Maybe on Thursday it has to change. I have an Osmo stream, but that's only a 3-game slate, so that might just get changed. I don't know. But yeah, we'll be back at least tomorrow at the same time and Wednesday. So if you guys want to run it back tomorrow, we'll be here. But make sure you're sweating in the free Discord. It's a lot of fun, man. Yep. All right, chat. I appreciate you making part of my day. Be part of your day. Tell somebody you love them because I love you. Good luck. God bless, and go win some money.
I'm gonna work on this list. Try to get it out.
Yeah. It is hot up in here. Dude, I got this light with this umbrella on me.
Yeah.
It's hot. It also maybe the sweater hat, but I like it. I don't know. All right, I'll see you in voice.
All right, I'll see you then.
Later.